Good morning. Good morning. It's great to see you this morning, and thank you for being here. I'd like to thank Crosby and, of course, our Wallace staff for being here live this morning and to help us as we begin the opening of what I believe will be a fantastic school year. So welcome to everyone, and to all of you who are watching from your respective campuses and central office in various buildings of operation that we have throughout the city. Welcome to you. I've chosen this morning to be able to hold the convocation in this manner to eliminate traffic jams, to allow us an opportunity in the ease of our own facilities to be able to view what I believe is a message that will bring vision and purpose and focus to the work that we all are charged to do, not only this year, but in future years, because you've indeed helped to shape it. Beginning this morning, we are very pleased and honored that the Honorable Mayor M. O'Leary has delivered a welcoming message due to his being away and not being able to be here physically with us this morning. We are honored that he has taken the time from his very, very busy schedule to be able to address us, and so we would like to start this morning with a welcome from our Honorable Mayor.
Well, good morning, everyone. To Dr. Ruffin, to members of the school board, to our great staff of school administrators, and of course, one of our most valuable assets in the city, you, the Waterbury teachers. I am honored to be with you this morning. Let me first start out by apologizing. I have a long-standing personal commitment which wouldn't allow me to change my schedule to be in person with you. So I apologize for that, but I'm sure that I'll see most of you in the up and coming months as the school year starts off. Again, it's amazing. A summer that's flown by, and here we are at a convocation getting ready to start a new school year. A new school year that I hope, as mayor, will bring great accomplishments to the district. I am very proud of Dr. Ruffin's commitment to the district and her staff, as well as, of course, you, the teachers of the city of Waterbury. As a longstanding employee of the city of Waterbury, I'm in my 39th continuous year, I think it's no secret to most of you, or hopefully all of you, my commitment to the students in the city of Waterbury. I know the responsibilities of a public school teacher at times are extremely daunting, particularly in an urban district such as Waterbury. I admire each and every one of you here today, and I just want to give you a personal thank you for your commitment to public education and mostly to the students of the Waterbury Public School District. I, as a member of the Waterbury Police Department for more than 30 years, have seen the commitment from our public school teachers and the unbelievable care and compassion given not only to our students, but to their families as well. To our new teachers, welcome. Welcome to the District of Waterbury. We are proud to have you here. We're excited to have you here. I think that what you will find is an amazing staff that you'll be working with and mentoring under, which will enable you to follow your dreams to educate students. And that's my desire as mayor of the city of Waterbury, to support you in every way that we can. To the veteran teachers, I hope and understand that you know my commitment to you. I know we did hit a rough patch in labor negotiations this past March, and quite frankly, I'm hoping that we can get beyond that and move forward into our labor negotiations in the fall of this year that will be satisfactory to not only, of course, you, the teachers, but also to the city of Waterbury. You know, I understand, completely understand, how difficult it is to be a school teacher in the 2019-20 school year. We live in a city that has an impoverished demographic. We live in a city of English language learners. We live in a city like other cities in the Northeast that is always struggling to make ends meet. But our most valuable asset always has to be remembered as our students in this district. And I know that we can work together to accomplish the goals of the superintendent and the Board of Education. And so for that, I look very much forward to seeing all of you this school year. As always, I have an open door to all of you There is not a teacher in this district that I don't admire and respect, and I want all of you to know that I'm committed to the 2019-2020 school year to make it as successful as all of us can dream to be. So my message this morning is clear. I firmly believe that we have a very, very committed and talented superintendent in our very own Verna Ruffin. We have a school board that is completely committed to the students of this district and their well-being, and of course their educational needs. And of course, as I've mentioned earlier, administrators and teachers who have given their lives to the betterment of this community through our public school system. I believe strongly that we are going in a very positive direction. And I'm very, very pleased to see the commitment that the public school teachers in Waterbury have shown to our students, who are our most important assets, and of course their families. And I believe strongly that 2019-2020 school year is going to be a great school year. As Dr. Ruffin enters her second year, now more familiar with the district, her initiatives are starting to be put into place, and I'm really proud of our Board of Education for their unanimous support of her for all these major initiatives that are about to take place. So I'm excited for all of you, especially our new teachers joining us, and I'm excited to be the mayor of a city that has such a committed school staff, not only in our teachers, our administrators, and of course, our community. So God bless all of you. Looking forward to seeing all of you this fall. I'll be in the schools frequently as usual, and I'm looking forward to meeting each and every one of you and welcoming you to this school year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are very honored to open our convocation with this very inspirational message, and of course with a deep commitment from our mayor, which is very important as we move forward, not only with initiatives that we have, but also to know that the city of Waterbury is behind the work that we're doing, because if people are going to move here and people are going to work here, it needs to be an exciting city as well as an exciting school district. It is a pleasure this morning to introduce our chair of the commissioners. I work for a 10-member commissioner. Commissioners represent the school board, and I would like to welcome Commissioner Liz Brown, who will also deliver a message of welcome this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all had a great summer, and I'm very excited to be here with such an amazing school district. I've been on the Board of Education now. This is my 8th year, and I've seen dramatic changes and such an increase in commitment. Every indicator of our educational system is going up. Our graduation rates are going up. Our scores are going up. Our engagement with the community is unbelievable. So I just want to say welcome back and encourage you to really think of yourselves as the front line of whatever is going to be good for our children. I always think in terms of sports. My kids were always in sports, and keep your head in the zone, keep focus. And I think that's what we're being really challenged to do, is to dream big, but focus on every day, making sure that we're doing the best for our children. Thank you so much for all you do, and I look forward to working with all of you to make Waterbury School District the best. Thank you.
As I noted earlier, as superintendent of the district, I am very pleased and honored to work for a 10-member board, and I also work for the mayor. And I would like to introduce all of our board members. Some are here with us at this facility. Others may be in various buildings across the district, and others may be viewing this later on after it is posted on YouTube. But I'd like to also say thank you to Commissioner Harvey, who is also here this morning. Other esteemed members of our commissioners include Commissioner Jason Van Stone, Commissioner Ann Sweeney, Commissioner Juanita Hernandez, Commissioner Charles Stango, Commissioner Melissa Ardorno, Commissioner Kathy Awad, Commissioner Charles Pagano, Commissioner Tom Van Stone. Please give them a round of applause for their commitment. Prior to anything occurring throughout the district, and it depends on where you sit and what is your view or impression of what goes on in the school system. It takes everyone to make things work. And behind the scenes, there are numerous people who are working countless hours that no one will ever know about. All summer long, there has been work ongoing. Our maintainers have been at work. A number of our custodial and our facilities crew have been working very hard. Most people don't even know that. When you walk into your building, you kind of take it for granted. This is what everybody does. But what people may not be aware of, there are hundreds of employees that have been working on maintaining buildings, on making certain facilities are open, such as St. Joe's. We have a dedicated crew that not only work traditional hours, but they work beyond that to make certain that we can deliver on a promise. And sometimes it's a promise that's very hard to keep, because you begin a project, you determine that there's more to that project than you thought, you start working on it, you see that you can't quite finish that one, but you prioritize and you go to work. So I want to thank all of our facilities crews, all of the behind-the-scene people, a tremendous amount of technology folks that are out today. They're out all the time taking care of what is also an inordinate amount of needs for our district. And a lot of times these are unsung heroes that take care of us. And I want to acknowledge you and say thank you. We do know that you're doing a tremendous amount of work. And if we don't tell you personally, then I'm committed this year to making certain that I do reach out and let you know personally how much I appreciate the work that you've done. So when you go back to your buildings, or if you're in your building, or if you're going to be at a swing space because we had to build a new school for you, don't forget there were people behind the scenes making that happen. So please go out of the way to say thank you, because it would never happen without these unsung heroes that are working and you don't even know where they are. Additionally, superintendents can have really aggressive goals. They mean nothing without people. It's the people that makes it happen. And before we came here today, there were a large number of people that worked all summer long to make certain that we were ready for school beginning on Monday. And if you came in this week for your first time, someone was working a long time before this week to make that happen. I am honored as superintendent that I did have an opportunity to select my team. That means a lot to me. Most superintendents don't have that opportunity. I am very, very fortunate, and I don't take that lightly. And oftentimes, I don't even tell all of the people as often as I should, and they're around me every day. So I do want to take some time, because for all of you throughout all of our facilities, these are the people that make a lot of things happen that no one could possibly imagine, the dedication and the hard work that they do. So I'm going to acknowledge some very important behind the scenes and some in front of the scenes. My senior cabinet is very much on the front line right along with me, but sometimes people just don't realize what they do. So I do want to thank this morning the office staff. I want to thank administrative assistants directly working in my office: Chantel Johnson, Barbara Booley, Carrie Swain, Margaret Cherubini, Margaret Noonan. When people call, when people have crises, when people want to know where do I go, these ladies have answers. And if they don't, they say, I'll get back with you, or I'll let you know. And sometimes we get calls that really are not specifically directed to the superintendent's office, but they can help connect. They have relationships with your office staff at various campuses and facilities throughout the district. So I want to say thank you to all of them. And likewise, a tremendous executive cabinet that I'm honored to work with. And I'm going to introduce some of them, and I will ask them to stand. And very briefly, I may tell you a little bit about what they do. I cannot possibly touch into all of the work that they do, but I do want to acknowledge them. And so you can put a name with a face, and you can see the team as we are a relatively new team, but we're a team dedicated to working to support you in the work that you do on your campuses. I'd like to introduce our Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Greg Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez and I work very closely together on a lot of major initiatives. Dr. Rodriguez has taken the academic side, the structures and the processes and the mission and the vision for driving what we do on the academic side, and works with me and works with the district even in my absence. So if I have to attend professional development, if I need to do something that takes me away from the district, Dr. Rodriguez is the second in command for the District of Waterbury. We have Will Clark. Mr. Clark is in charge of operations, and that's huge because it's operations all over the district. He comes with a tremendous background and has hit the ground running when he's come into the district. He has also been key in delivering many messages, that sometimes we deliver at odd hours of the day or evening. He is also the person that has been able to gather a large group of staff members to make certain that schools are ready to open, and he has played a major role in our new facility that we're preparing to build for Wendell Cross, and taken on a tremendous amount of projects along with technology, all of the operational parts of what happens in the school district. And because of the nature of our central office, it is also very, very important that we develop very healthy relationships, not only for the district, but also working with City Hall and working with the mayor's office. And Mr. Clark has a very large staff, but he is in charge of operations and does a stellar job working with numerous people, both inside and outside of the district. We have Darren Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz is our Chief Academic Officer. Mr. Schwartz is in charge of all of the academics throughout the system, reading, math, science, language arts, fine arts, all of the academics. And while I noted earlier that Dr. Rodriguez works with academics, I think our district, you can see it as two different pots, so to speak. One is the academic teaching and learning, which Dr. Rodriguez can spearhead and see that it occurs, but Mr. Schwartz is the one on the academic side: math, science, language arts, and social studies, fine arts, physical education, health, all of those content areas, and he works with a very large staff to conduct some professional development, as well as making certain that all of the curriculum materials that we are now getting into the district, that we get them, and that we also make certain that we are ahead to make certain that our teachers have what they need to instruct our students. And so with his department and the numerous staff that he works with, it is the responsibility to not only deliver a viable curriculum with the materials and the resources and the ongoing professional development, but also for academic excellence within the district. We have Doreen Biello. Doreen is our Chief Financial Officer. She plays a critical role in not only managing the money that we receive from the state, but monies that we receive from various grants, and making certain that we're financially stable, but also making certain that we're financially legal, and making certain that our funds are coordinated in such a way that they really impact schools. And it is an arduous task, because people sometimes think if the district gets a lot of money, that means that we have lots of money that we can spend in a variety of ways. And Doreen and I will tell you that's not the case, because sometimes the money that we receive is earmarked only for specific things. And as needy as we are, and as often as we sometimes think, well, we have money, why can't we do this? It's because it's earmarked, and it is very strict in the way that we can spend it, as well as how we strategically think about how we can best spend it for the operation of schools. So just keep that in mind, because her job is extremely challenging. She works not only with our district, she also works with the city very well, and she works with different pots of money, and in a very complex world of finance. So, and she has a very large staff as well. Not only does she handle and manage the financial staff that operates our district, she also works with other staff that manage different grants that we receive, not only in the district, but sometimes for individual schools as well. Then we have our staff that work with other members of our senior staff that I've introduced, but also because of the size of their department and the critical areas of their work, I want to take time to introduce them. Melissa Baldwin is our Director of Special Education. Melissa reports directly to our Chief Academic Officer, and Melissa works with a large special education staff, both within the schools as well as central office. The supervisors of special ed, as well as all of the various programs that we have within our district. She works not only with the district, she works with the State Department, and she works with charters, and she works with other schools throughout the state for various needs of our special needs students that are sometimes met directly in the district, but sometimes the needs of our students are met outside of the district as well. Melissa coordinates all of that. We also have Lee Palmer. Lee Palmer has been with us for approximately 2 months. He is a long-awaited staff member who comes to us with various experience, not only in the state of Connecticut, but in other states as well, as our Director of Human Resource and Talent Management. Now, that's a pretty much big mouthful of what he does and what he's getting ready to do, but it was challenging to find the right staff member that wanted to be able to engage in Waterbury for the challenging work that we have ahead. Because the last part, the talent management part, is something we've not really had in Waterbury. And part of the many reasons why Mr. Palmer was hired is because he gets it. And while he gets it, he is also responsible for making certain that we all get it in a way that is going to definitely change the way that we operate and do business in Waterbury. Mr. Palmer directly reports to Mr. Clark, our Chief Operating Officer, but because of the intensity of the work that he does, and just like Melissa, is definitely a vital part of our executive staff, and the work is tremendous, and I will talk more about talent management later on in my presentation. So that's an introduction to Mr. Palmer. We also are very fortunate to have 3 assistant superintendents with their specific roles. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Noreen Buckley. Ms. Buckley is responsible for the elementary schools, and when I say responsible for the elementary schools, the principals in the elementary schools have a direct report to Ms. Buckley. She works with and assists them and supports them in leadership development, as well as making certain that the support for materials and that they need to be successful are there. Ms. Buckley does not run the elementary schools. The principals run the elementary schools, but Ms. Buckley is responsible for making certain that our elementary schools are on target. And so that direct report, that chain of command, so to speak, is very huge because she has a tremendous amount of responsibility in their development, as well as professional learning, as well as the data that we're going to share, and all of the things that we need to put together to make certain that schools have what they need to be very successful. And so it's a huge responsibility. And we've tried very hard to assure that our assistant superintendents are assigned to clusters or to grade levels to best meet the needs of the students in the schools with the principals, that we're responsible for making certain that all of our students are successful. So she is in charge of the elementary component of our school system. We have Dr. Michelle Baker. Dr. Michelle Baker is an assistant superintendent working with pupil services as well as working with Enlightenment and State Street and also with the Academic Academy. She will be working with some innovative programs that we will have within the district. I think the bulk of her new role is also with the pupil services part, which is huge for our district. It encompasses not only the social and emotional learning, but it also takes the various staff that we have throughout our school system, social workers, guidance counselors, people that are on individual school staff for a specific purpose to direct and help students to be better successful in schools. She will play a critical role in making certain that we not only have the people there, because that's a responsibility of the school, but that we are intentionally creating a structure so that people can actually do the jobs that they were hired to do to be able to move our district forward. So social and emotional learning does not come from simply having a position. It comes when all of the people are clear on what their roles are to be able to deliver on a promise that we have made to all of our children. And part of her job is to make certain that while we have guidance counselors in secondary schools and we have social workers in our elementary schools and across the district, that the intentionality of those roles, along with school attendance counselors, are working purposefully towards the goals of the district. So it's another huge job as an assistant superintendent. And we have Dr. Janice Epperson. Dr. Epperson is responsible as assistant superintendent for all of our secondary schools. So all of our comprehensive middle schools, all of our high schools, as well as the pre-K-8 schools. The reason why our assistant superintendents are divided that way is for some continuity and consistency in leadership. She also has a very strong secondary background and will work not only with the schools in those feeder patterns and in that cluster for secondary schools, but has extensive work and experience in turnaround. And so she will be working with our secondary schools for the specific purpose of, again, just like Ms. Buckley and just like Dr. Baker, that direct report that principals have. Again, not running the schools, principals run the school, but definitely the experience and the responsibility to grow and to develop the leadership and the leadership capacity to deliver on the work that we have promised. I wanted to take time to introduce my staff that work directly with me on a day-to-day basis. All of us are, you're all my staff, but I work with the people that I've just introduced every day. I'm easily accessible to them, and they can tell you that, yes, I'm easily accessible, but sometimes I'm just not. But they do so much. And I want to acknowledge the fact that without them, we would not be able to move our district forward. Likewise, without you, we can't go any further either. So it's very important that we become a team. And those are just not words taken lightly. It's very important that we begin to develop that way, because we do have a history of operating in silos. We have a reputation of talking about each other sometimes as, well, that's downtown. And, well, those are the schools, but that's a decision that was made downtown. The truth of the matter is, we're all one system. And so there might be a downtown, but a lot of decisions that I think downtown gets blamed for are campus decisions. And I think sometimes downtown gets a bad rap because we're considered to be the ones handing down the rules, when the truth of the matter is the schools have a direct responsibility for the success that happens for their students. Because let's face it, you're the ones in the trenches. You're the ones working with children. You're the ones making those connections. I miss those individual connections with students, but I don't have the impact that you do, because you see children each and every day, and you see them in ways and know things about them and can connect with them in such a meaningful way that no one can do that better than you. So you carry a tremendous weight, you carry a tremendous responsibilities, teachers and counselors and social workers and attendance counselors and secretaries, and you carry a tremendous amount of responsibility because the student's success is all in your hands. And so I thank you for joining us in Waterbury Public Schools to be able to move forward and to do this critical work that without you, our children do not stand a chance. So we move forward to talk a little bit about my key message this morning. That's our vision and our mission. I'm not going to read it to you, but that's the vision and the mission of Waterbury Public Schools. Our school board is currently working on developing a strategic plan, one that will carry us through the next 5 to 6 years, and they will probably revisit our vision and our mission. But we have goals, and our goals are the same goals that we had last year. You know, those are at the forefront of everything that we do. Academic excellence, healthy and safe schools, and financial stability and sustainability. Very important. But without some strategic steps, they probably don't mean very much. So we have conditions whereby those can be achieved. And they're very clear. They are very clear, but they're not easy. So if we create conditions to minimize barriers, then we can create sustainability within our district. We believe that. We believe that that is also not easy work. Our school board is currently in planning stages. Our next meeting is August 27th, where we're going to look at core values and beliefs. Our board is currently working on the 2019 to 2025 strategic plan, and there will be some specific action steps that will guide our work in the Waterbury Public Schools. We do have a theory of action. It's not just words, but it is so difficult. If, and then. So if we create conditions to minimize barriers, to build teacher and leader capacity and cluster schools to leverage resources, then we can turn around chronically underperforming schools and create sustainability. See, in Waterbury, we have a number of schools that are quite successful, and we have a number of schools that are making only marginal gains. And while we may have success on one end, we have dire need to be able to aggressively change some of the challenges that we have in lower performing schools. Because as a body, as an entire district, we own all of it. So we can talk about the great successes that we're having in clusters of schools, but we must remember there are clusters of schools that are not even close. And that's the critical work. And we believe that if we have strong leadership, which is critical, not only does research says it, but it is important that we not only have strong leaders, but we have strong teachers. It's not an either or. So with strong leadership, the principal guides that school with a sense of urgency, and principals must take ownership of that. It is not central office. It is not that one teacher in that classroom. It's how you're building the capacity and how leadership does that to make certain that they're monitoring, that they're very clear on what the goals are. And keep in mind, we can't have 50 goals. You can't have too many goals. If you have too many priorities, none of them are priority. So you have to be focused. What is the work that needs to happen at that school this year for maximum improvement? Strong leadership is critical. You will see, as strong leaders, we are also bringing in some professional development specific to building leadership capacity. We will be working with the National Institute of School Leadership. We will have some expectations for our principals and our future leaders to be able to attend. This will be open not only to our principals, but also our assistant principals and some central office staff, and we will begin with a cohort because we want this to be a real learning, intense learning environment, but we expect that there's going to be some return on our investment as we invest in people in our district. So you can expect that we're going to begin to build that strong leadership in Waterbury. Instructional transformation. When I became superintendent here, I heard repeatedly we didn't have the curriculum and instruction resources. And in fact, we really didn't have a viable curriculum. And I would say we still don't. We're closer than we were, but we haven't arrived. We have materials, but we don't have materials for everyone. We still have secondary social studies, high school social studies that we need to tackle. And we still need to be able to do some important work around fine arts and around making certain that our students are not missing opportunities. So instructional transformation is not only math and science and social studies and reading and ELA, it's really instructional transformation to make certain that our students are successful and that we challenge them to their full capacity. And you know what? Sometimes we don't even realize what the capacity is, because sometimes we still label students as not being able to do something, as opposed to trying to find ways that they can learn how to be able to do it. So transformation, instructional transformation, does start with a very, very strong talent pool. And we're committed to making certain that we make some aggressive strides in that area. So instructional transformation is huge. Cultural shift. We've got to know that we are serving our students in Waterbury, and our student population is quite diverse. I look at that as an asset. You know, when students come to us and they're able to speak more than one language, what a benefit. When we hire staff that can speak more than one language, that's amazing. When we consider that we have to shift the way that we think from some people maybe believing we used to be better years ago and we're not as good today, we need to ask ourselves why. Because ultimately, all of us are here today because of the students that we're obligated to serve in such a meaningful way. And then talent development. Talent development is not only about hiring people. Talent development is about investing in people. Also, it is about the professional learning, but it's not going to professional development one time. It's that ongoing development of talent to be able to satisfy the work of an organization. And in Waterbury Public Schools, that's more than just hiring people. We hire lots of people. We have over 120 new teachers that we've just hired this year. That's hiring. But retaining is another story, and that's hard, because everyone's competing today. So I do want to take the time to thank you for being here, because we recognize that everyone had an option. And we're so pleased that you have chosen to work in Waterbury. But working in Waterbury for us has to be more than just the fact that we've got you here. We've got to keep you here. So investing in what you do, investing in your talents and developing you so that you can aspire for your career advancements in Waterbury is critically important to us. So within the HR department, and HR cannot do this alone, but the talent management and the talent development is so critical. I'm gonna tell you this, and then I'm gonna move on, because I wanna make certain that I cover so much with you today. But in talent development and in school turnaround and in our theory of action, it's just a bunch of words if we don't put it into action. And I'll give you an example. We have some schools that are critically short on teaching staff. We have some schools that will have people apply and say, I don't want to go there. And so our employees may decide they don't want to teach at that school. Well, we've got to have people at all of our schools. And so if we're looking at schools that are chronically failing, we're looking at our failure as a system. Because it would be equal to me to say that your expert doctors and your expert nurses refuse to go to a hospital to help patients because they're dying. You have to know that there are people committed to taking care of people to help them get better. And so in a school system that is where we are now, with some disparities in how we staff schools, we have to pay attention to the fact that some of our schools are in dire need of intensive care. And that means that we need people to say and to commit to not only going there and marginalizing how kids perform, because that's the best that they can do, look at where they've come from, but people who know that that is wrong and who have a commitment to saying, I can do that. I want to go there, because that's where the students aren't doing well. And I have the skills and talents because I know how to do that kind of work. I want to go to that school And you might hear colleagues or you might hear people say, why do you want to go to that school? Nobody wants to go to that school. And maybe you should be so bold as to say, because I'm that good, I can make a difference there. And that's the kind of commitment that we need. It's not for everyone. It's absolutely not for everyone, but it has to be for the right people that know that it is an injustice to let some children fail and others have all of the advantages. That's wrong. And so when we talk about equity, when we talk about social justice, it's about, do you have the courage to put your best people in the most challenging learning environment so that children there have an equal chance to succeed? How would we feel if our children attended a school that no one wanted to go to? I would not like it. And not only would I not like it, I would want to shake things up a little to make certain that we're not only offering words of encouragement, but we're making bold decisions about how we staff schools. And so you'll hear that a lot, but you'll also see it a lot in practice. And yes, it will be very difficult because it is hard work. Turnaround work is hard. And you might say, well, I'm not a turnaround school. Oh yeah, we're a turnaround district. We don't all have the label. And we don't have school improvement label on every single school, and we're not a school that's focused on every single campus, but we are indeed a district that must turn itself around. You've spent a long time last year working and helping to craft the portrait of a graduate. Many of you in listening in today have been a part of designing the portrait of a graduate. And this is what you have said collectively. Portrait of a graduate for Waterbury needs to be an effective communicator, a collaborator, a lifelong learner, a knowledgeable human being, problem solver with a growth mindset, with a lot of grit and social and emotional intelligence. You said that, parents said that, community said that, workforce said that. That's wonderful. Now, this year, we have to make certain we define. So what's the educator going to look like in Waterbury to deliver on that promise? And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the serious work comes in. Because yes, we want this for our children. And I think this is so exciting that we want this for our children, that everything we do should be geared towards how are we going to make certain we deliver on that promise. And I'm going to probably shake things up a little bit and say things like, for instance, in our secondary schools, we've got to make certain that if our students are not successful, that we figure out how we're going to maybe change schedules, how we're going to address the fact that we may have a cluster of students that do not pass Algebra 1. And the key to success, if you're not passing Algebra 1, is not to take Algebra 1 on a computer. You have to reschedule the kid for Algebra 1 with a teacher. And yes, it affects your staffing. And yes, it affects how you're going to be scheduling students. But it's the right thing to do, because if I don't understand Algebra 1, which is a gateway, Algebra 1 is your gateway, not only to finish high school successfully, but to learning some of the other mathematics, and it's a gateway to college. So if you cannot pass Algebra 1, you should be taking Algebra 1, and you should be passing Algebra 1 with a teacher that's going to help you to pass Algebra 1, because it's the gateway. And a computerized program will not effectively help you to pass Algebra 1 unless you are able to understand the mathematics, the algebraic expressions, the algebraic ways of being able to solve problems, and the reason why you need to learn it. And so it challenges our secondary schools to create a schedule that meets the needs of children, and to make certain that we're not moving students forward that have not passed English 1 and putting them in English 2 and 3 before they've successfully completed English 1. We've got to make those bold decisions to change the way we staff our schools, as well as how we meet the needs of the children. Imagine if you are an Algebra 2 teacher, or you are a teacher that teaches calculus in any one of our schools. Imagine getting a student in your classroom that did not pass Algebra 1 or Geometry or Algebra 2. And then we're asking you to be able to help them to pass successfully the SAT. And we never had a curriculum that matched what students were expected to learn on the SAT. Now you do. Now we have it. And my expectation would be that we implement it, and yes, it's going to be hard. But in the absence of that, and it doesn't matter whether we agree that the SAT is a real measure of student success, because in the state of Connecticut, it's a measure. So we're beyond having an argument about whether we think it is or it's not. I personally don't think that it is, but it doesn't really matter because it's the measure. So if it's the measure in the state of Connecticut, we have to align our resources to assure that our students are getting it, but very importantly, that our teachers have the tools they need to teach it. And now our teachers have the tools. And so it is an expectation that teachers attend the professional development to deliver it, because now we have Springboard. And it's not a catch-all. It's not, okay, we got it, now our problems are solved. That's not true. We have to implement. And implementation is going to be hard. And it's going to be hard for several reasons. It shifts the culture. It's a different mindset. It changes the instructional resources that we now have to use, as opposed to the instructional resources that we chose to use because we didn't have a curriculum in the first place. Now it says, oh my God, this is not what we've been teaching. That's true. But this is what we now have to teach for our students to be successful. And I'm going to show you some of the progress, or maybe the lack of progress, that we have made, not as an attack, but as a real intentional way of looking at where we are and then challenging ourselves for getting in a better place. Because you see, we've promised a lot of things to our students. We've promised a lot of things to our staff. You know, we're good at promising. We have to deliver. Because this portfolio for students, we have this in Waterbury. We have these opportunities. Many of our students don't have access. This is the entire menu of what we have in Waterbury Public Schools, from pre-K to some community schools. We have lottery schools, we have magnet schools, we have some career pathways that our high schools have created this year. We have an academic academy at Wallace for grades 4 through 8th grade. We are in conversation about bilingual and dual language academies, but even in the absence of academies, we still have bilingual schools. We have strong foundations. We have a team that will be working on an early college concept, which is probably going to open at Crosby in another year, that we are still in the process of having conversation and dialogue with Naugatuck Valley Community College and developing. We have opportunities in all of our high schools for our students to be successful, both at Crosby, at Kennedy, and at Wilby. We have an alternative education program that we are working on clearly defining what is our alternative education program in Waterbury Public Schools. Is it truly an alternative program? Is it an innovative program? How long do students stay there? Is it a sentence for life? Or is it something that we use to help our students to be better prepared so that once they return to their traditional schools, they can be successful? We have adult education program. We also have the Mask Center, which is really not ours in Waterbury. However, we have students that participate in programs. I had the honor of seeing a number of our students graduate and from all of our high schools. There were about 16 of them. It's a specialized program, and they were learning about manufacturing. And what surprised me, and it was unsettling, the students said they loved the program and they were sorry that it was ending. And then they said, I almost didn't participate because I didn't know what it was. And then they said, the reason why I took a chance is because another student told me that I should. Now, while that doesn't sound really bad, the way that I see it is we should be advocating for the children to let them know what that is so that they can take part in it. And maybe it's because we don't know. So how do we learn what we don't know? So how do you know what you don't know? Maybe you have to ask. Maybe we have to do a better job of making certain that we know that we have this available in our system. But we have an opportunity, and we still do, for our students to continue working in specialized programs at the Mass Center, and they have an opportunity to conduct internships, and they get paid. I think that's pretty amazing. But if our school counselors don't know this, and if our school teachers don't know this, and if our principals don't know this, and if we probably don't know as much as we should, then I think we need to challenge ourselves to learn, are we missing opportunities for our children across the district? How do I learn that? And how do I have to create a structure that helps me to understand what our children can do? And we learned that. I learned a lot from you during the superintendent forums last year. I had wonderful conversations with our teachers across the district, and they would say, Dr. Ruffin, we don't know that we have this. How do we know? I didn't know we had this. And quite honestly, there were some things that I didn't have a clue we had either. So how do we learn what we currently have so we can utilize it to the maximum and help our students to be more successful? So that's a challenge for us. The communication piece is still a challenge for us. And we want to take that challenge head on. We don't want to make excuses for it. Yeah, we have issues with communication. We need to improve. So help us to improve on that by helping to define when we have arrived and we have become better at communication. What does that look like in Waterbury? Because we still have a challenge with that. We offer all of this. So let's talk a little bit about achievement and growth. Let's talk about this topic that sometimes our newspapers and our State Department and different media outlets will pick this up and say, you know, schools aren't doing very well. Waterbury has challenges. Absolutely we do. So does every other district in the state of Connecticut and across the United States, because all of us now have what's called ESSA targets. The Every Student Succeed Act has specific targets by school. So there's achievement, and achievement can be math and ELA, science, social studies. Are we achieving a particular target? Are students proficient or exceeds in a content? So that's achievement. And then there's this other thing called growth that our state and our district hasn't paid that much attention to. And growth means, yes, we have some challenges, but we have been able to take a student and we have been able to improve that student's learning in such a way that that student made more than 1 year's progress. And some of you are not only helping your students improve by a year, you're helping them by 2 or 3. And what I found and what we found is you don't know who you are. If you're a teacher in this district and your students are improving and you are the reason that they're not only improving 1 and 2 and 3 years, you deserve to know that. Because that means that you can take a child who might be at the 3rd grade level, but they're a 9th grader, but you're making certain that that student improves by 2 and 3, and guess what? If that student is fortunate enough to get another teacher just like you the next year, eventually that child will catch up. But what happens when they don't get another you? Or what happens if you don't know that it's you? Then you don't really know what the target is. And so we need to look at and value the fact that while the state measures growth by your campus, you, teachers, have a huge impact on how students grow as a result of your teaching. And you deserve to know that. So I challenge our campuses to look at growth, because some of you are really making significant gains with your children in such a way that if I was a parent, I'd want to make certain my child had you. and you deserve to know who you are. Now, I think that that's important to know that. It values the people that work here in Waterbury. It values you because it not only says, you're doing a really good job. Did anybody ever tell you you're really doing a good job and you don't know what it is you did that was good for them to say it, but it felt good? Well, I want to caution you that if people just tell you you're doing a good job and they can't quantify that, it's just they're being nice. But I'd like to be able to say when I'm talking to someone, especially in this high-stakes conversation that we would have, if I say that you're doing a really good job, I'm really talking about a return on investment. I'm talking about, I can quantify that because the students in your class are more successful than 50% of the other classrooms across the district. Your school is successful, and I'm commending you on a job well done because you're the only school in the district whose students in ELA and math met not only the target for growth, but they met the target for achievement. I want to quantify that. You should expect people to, yes, it feels good. I don't want to say that, don't say that, you're doing a really good job. That's good. I don't want to discourage people for saying that. But we need to start quantifying that because we have people that don't know how good they are. And we haven't told them why they're good. We just panic when they leave. And we have to do better. So let's take a look at some of the data. This will all be posted. So let's take a look at growth. In ELA, for growth, these schools had growth in ELA only. Bucks Hill, Bunker Hill, Carrington, Chase, Driggs, Duggan, Hopeville, North End, Regan, Rotella, Tinker, Wallace, Walsh, Washington, Westside, and Wilson. In mathematics, only in math, had growth, Chase, Regan, Rotella, Sprague, and Washington. Now, we should celebrate that, but look at these four schools. They met their growth in both ELA and math. Something exciting is going on there. Chase, Regan, Rotella, and Washington. We should celebrate that. Not only should we celebrate it, we should be able to network and learn what did they do? What did they do? Let's get to some root cause, and the root cause not just in saying root cause because we've identified a problem, but let's go to the root cause as to what caused us to be successful. So let's look at that. In achievement, in ELA for achievement, that means that school, those schools, had larger numbers of students that might have achieved their ESSA target in meeting their goals for English or math, and then we'll go the ones that met both. So in English, that means they had the larger number of students that were either proficient or exceeds. ELA, we had Carrington, Chase, Driggs, Duggan, Generali, Maloney, Reed, Regan, Rotella, Sprague, Wallace, and Westside. That's ELA only. In mathematics only, we had Carrington, we have Chase, we have Duggan, Maloney, Regan, Rotella, and Sprague. But these schools, these next group, these 8 schools, they did well in achievement in ELA and math. Carrington, Chase, Duggan, Maloney, Regan, Rotella, and Sprague. We need to find out what's going on in there. We also have a unique situation here in Waterbury that we need to capitalize on. We have 2 school facilities that, actually 4, but it's 2 that adjoin. One is here with Crosby and with Wallace. The other one is North End and Wilby. And while Kennedy and Westside are not adjoined, they do share the same students. Your high schools are going to be as successful as your middle schools. Your middle school and your high school on the same campus That's like an opportunity that we have not yet really explored to the full potential. Because when you have middle school students leaving and going to a high school, you have opportunities for staffing, for elective opportunities, for teaching blocks of classes based on where your students need to be advanced, as well as where the students need to be assisted with interventions. You have opportunities to collaborate. You have opportunities to get to know one set of students because they leave the middle school and then go straight to the high school, and there should be a partnership there that is so tight that you are actually taking ownership for the success of one is the success of the other. There needs to be that kind of collaboration between the middle school and the high school. As well, you have wonderful opportunities. We have some data on our pre-K-8 schools. There's definitely evidence that our pre-K-8 schools in their 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are gaining some success in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade student performance, so we need to learn, what are they doing? What's happening there that's causing the disparity between 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students in a pre-K-8 school and 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students in a traditional middle school? I think there's some opportunities to learn from each other. And so we need to do that, and that needs to begin happening this year. Our board of commissioners, our commissioners are currently working on core values and core beliefs. We are working on that both as a department with our leadership team, our executive leadership team, as well as with our commissioners. And while these are not the ones that have been identified without subject to change, our commissioners have worked on the core values and will be very shortly, I guess within the next month or so. Our next meeting is August 27th, but within the next month or so, probably establishing some core values for the system. And what the core values will do is they will give us the beliefs, the non-negotiables, so to speak, to be able to drive our district forward. Remember, I told you that we can't have 15 goals. We can't have too many goals. We have to have some meaningful goals, but we can't have 15 goals. You're not going to achieve them all. You're going to give the energy to the one that someone is going to ask you about, as opposed to, is this really what I need to do to make certain that this is appropriate for my school? I had some principals that were asking at the leadership conference, because they saw that the state and the district has goals, to improve attendance, to improve discipline, to improve the, reducing the number of arrests that we have across the district, to improve on the social and emotional learning, to improve on academics. And so we had schools that really did not have an exorbitant amount of discipline. They were saying, well, we have to set a goal for discipline. Well, why would you set a goal for discipline if you already have established the fact that you have a handle on it? You work on something that you know you need to improve on. You make certain that you don't falter on the other. You certainly are doing something right if your numbers of discipline and out-of-school suspensions are reduced significantly. That doesn't become like a goal. It becomes we have to sustain this. We have to continue best practices. But your goal might be, if you're at 30% in mathematics, that you need to really put some funding. All schools have funding, by the way. All schools get a budget. And that budget is to be disseminated through the guidance of the principal and his or her teachers. So when I hear so many times, we're buying our own supplies, we're going out, and I understand that, and we're very fortunate that we have tremendous community partners. But I do want to say, and I want to say publicly, that schools do get a budget. And that budget is supposed to be managed with the leadership and the teachers at that campus. There's no downtown interference on that. And so it needs to be that ownership, that if you have the money, you use it strategically for what your teachers need on that campus. I just had to clarify that, because we get blamed for everything downtown. Core values: excellence, integrity, respect, equity, relationships, financial responsibility, and student experience. I'm not going to talk about all of those, but I will talk about some of those. By design, we have taken the Faith Center, which is no more, and the Intake Center, which is no more, and we are attempting to create a Welcome Center. And it's in the same location where Intake used to be, but now it has staff, so our parents coming in to register, kindergarten through 8th grade, our new parents coming in, go to one place. They are greeted by a staff that can take care of all of their needs in one place, not only to register, but to make certain that they have information about the city of Waterbury, that they know where to find various important needs to know, especially if you're new to the school district, especially if you're coming to the school district and you don't speak the language of the majority. It's a place where people should go and feel welcomed, and we are very committed to offering the customer service necessary to be able to provide that kind of atmosphere as opposed to just coming in and registering. In the Welcome Center, we have also moved transportation because parents have questions about transportation. They, in the past, either had to come downtown and then go back to the intake center. Now they can get the information they need one place. We will have some special education services. We will have an opportunity to determine whether students have an IEP before they get to the schools, and then we find out that we're not compliant because we didn't know. We will have some bilingual staff there. There are other agencies located in that building, such as the health department. WIC is located in that building. So we're attempting and very committed to creating a true welcome center so that when parents leave that particular location, there's also a connection with the parent liaison at your respective schools. I want to say that our parent liaisons are amazing, and they participated in so many activities this summer. And we have so many people that want to do more. All you have to do is ask. And it was just exciting this summer to see so many things come alive. And so our parent liaisons plays that critical part at your respective campuses. But then just think, if you have a welcome center that can connect, then you can make sure that when students have finished registering, they don't have to miss school. They go directly into your class. Because attendance is still an issue. Attendance is an issue, not only with the students. Attendance is an issue with the staff. You can't teach someone if you're not there. And a substitute can't do as great of a job as the teacher that was meant to teach the children. And so that is still an issue that we have not been able to resolve. But we need to if we're going to make substantial improvements in instruction. And so I want to make sure that everyone understands that when we talk about relationships, and I just talked about the Welcome Center, that's not just something that happens in the Welcome Center. Relationships happen in the classroom. Because I've had the honor of meeting a lot of students over even the summer in various programs, and I had an opportunity to meet. Remember our two students that were on the PowerPoint last year and the presentation last year, one's at Yale and the other one's at Harvard. Had an opportunity to meet with them personally this week, 2 days ago. And they're just amazing students. But it was interesting that in my conversations with not only our two students there, but all other students that I met during the summer, it's interesting that some of the students felt that they had to advocate for themselves to get where they needed to go. I think that's great. I mean, it's internal motivation. You can't beat that. But for some of our students that don't have it, a word from you can mean all the difference in the world. I know for a fact that when I was a student, that I had teachers that encouraged me, and that I had teachers that didn't. I had a teacher that told my mother that I could not major in music because I had not learned how to play the piano yet. Now, my mother believed everything that a teacher said. If a teacher said something, that was gospel. Now, I don't know if you're Catholic, but in a Catholic household, if you said the gospel, it's the gospel. And I went to Catholic school. So if a teacher said something, that was it. And the teacher told my mom that I could not major in music because I did not take piano lessons. I hadn't had piano lessons. I don't know what got into my mother, but my mother's response was, then I'll get someone to teach her. And I get quite emotional even today when I think about that, because my mother advocated for me. And that was it just was very powerful, because at that time, and the comment by a teacher that I couldn't do it, for my mother to say, I will find someone to teach her, was a big deal. And it forever changed my life. So when I talk with you and I'm passionate about fine arts, it's not because that's all I know. It's because I know it could be a game changer for some children. And so when my mother, who definitely didn't listen to the teacher because someone else assured her that she could find someone to teach piano lessons to her daughter who wanted to major in music without having the piano prerequisites. And she found a piano teacher. And of course, the rest is history because I majored in music. I have 2 degrees in music. But the fact was, someone advocated for me. And later, there were teachers and multiple teachers that advocated for me and helped me. There were teachers that lit and inspired me in ways that I didn't even believe I could achieve. I did not want to be an administrator. That was the furthest thing from my mind. I thought that all administrators did was punish children. And I didn't want to sit in an office and do that all day. So when my mentor, who is still in Lafayette, Louisiana today, his name is Lester Duyon, when he said, Verna, you should pursue being an administrator, I said, why would I want to do that? So the rest is history, because I not only became an administrator, I'm the superintendent. But the fact is, you don't ever know how powerful your words are. They can inspire someone who says, you can't major in music, and somebody says, yeah, I'm going to give you the tools so you can. Or someone who says, you need to be an administrator, and you're saying, I don't want to do that. And they're saying, but here's why you probably need to think about it. And those are people you never forget. So the relationships that we're talking about, that's not just the Welcome Center. That's you in your classrooms every single day, and what you say that a child will never forget. So that's powerful. And you must remember that you hold that power. No one can take that away. No one can give it to you. It's even what you say when you're so angry at a child that it just did something totally ridiculous. I know we've never worked with anyone that's done anything ridiculous, so you probably can't relate to what I'm getting ready to say. But if you have, it's what you say, even when you're upset with someone, that could be the tipping point. So choose the words carefully. Make certain they understand what you really meant. And just take the time, because those relationships change lives. And so I leave you today with what we have to do as a collective organization for that student experience. You hear me talk about student experience. And you might say, well, what about us? We're the teachers. Absolutely, can't do it without you. You are the most valuable resource. That's why we really do have to invest in our teachers. Totally believe that, and I'm totally committed to that. Totally, because you make it happen. But when I look at the student experience, I always look at it from the student experience, because the teacher makes the student experience unforgettable. You light up a dream for a kid that didn't even know they could dream. You take a student that may not believe they need to be in a specialized program because maybe they don't believe they're that smart, and you take that kid and you shape that kid to have the confidence that they need to at least take a chance. And then you help them. Sometimes it's only with words of encouragement, but you help them to see the impossible. You recognize that when a kid doesn't want to participate in a specialized program, you take the time to find out why. Is it because they really don't want to, or they're disinterested? Or is it because maybe they can't afford to wear the specialized uniform that they might need on a special field trip that they might be asked to take because maybe the family or the household can't afford it? Or maybe it's worse than that. Maybe there's no family or household. And you take the time, because the student experience, for a student that you can really build that bond with, you can change not only that child's life, but you change the trajectory of Waterbury Public Schools, and you change a life forever, whether they tell you or they don't. And so I challenge you to be able to look at how the student experience will be affected by you, because you hold that key. From the time that you see them, from the time that you fall in love with them because they're so smart, and the time that you wish that they would go away because they are just aggravating you, and the time that you just don't know why they're acting out, to find out what is the student experience going to be when they enter my domain. Will it be a great experience? Are they going to be my project this year? Because they are challenging, but I'm going to take on that challenge. Are they going to be that student that I wish I had another class of 25 just like them? Or are they going to be the 25 that I hope I never see again? We hold the power of words. We hold the power to change lives. And I challenge all of us, myself included, to make a difference in someone's life, because children are watching and depending on us to be the change that needs to happen in Waterbury. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for showing up this morning. I want to thank you for being an employee of Waterbury Public Schools, and I want to thank you for taking on the most important work that you could possibly be involved in, that of being a teacher and an educator for our children in Waterbury. Thank you very much. There are questions. You can ask questions. That form will allow you to go directly to respond, to ask any questions that you would like. I will answer you. I do want to tell you this. We have a presence on social media. I do have at Verna Ruffin, and I do have a Facebook page. I will tell you this, and when you insult me, I don't know because I don't answer, because I don't read them. So either give me some positive feedback, because I truly don't. I'm one of these strange people, perhaps, that when I put something out on social media, it's for information. I really don't put stuff out on social media because I expect to engage in any kind of, argument or anything. So when someone says something bad about me and you think that you're hurting my feelings, you really aren't, because I don't know that you're saying it. But if you want to have some positive input and go here, I will be more than happy to read it and I'll respond to you. But social media I use for information. I use it, and students, of course, log on because they want to know when I'm going to close schools. And but we do have some outstanding educators that post lessons and messages and good links on the social media, and I do retweet those and as well as put them out on Facebook. So we use social media for good things, and I will answer your questions. You will get a direct answer. I think this goes directly to Chantel or myself, and I look forward to your questions and everything. Have a fantastic year.